Hello, everyone, and welcome to Start to Finish for Citizen Sleeper. My name is Matt Bowyer. This is episode 12. Not really sure what we're doing. We've been working on mushrooms for a while. We could help Bliss out. The mushrooms are the thing I'm most interested in. I don't think I've got time to finish this. I don't know. Can you do everything at once? I have no idea. But the thing I'm most invested in is an ending. At this point, that's what I'm wanting. And I feel like I need... I don't know, I've joined a compound. A commune. Commune. I don't know. Either way, let's rest. I guess the one thing I haven't sorted out is how to take care of myself on an ongoing basis, which is kind of a concern. Alright, what do we have going on over here? Let's head to the Greenway. Come on. One. We gotta do that more, though. That's the thing. We're still not out of it. I've got the energy sorted. I figured that out. The club heads. Those are kind of the problem right now. Please don't take my energy. Thank you. Alright, plant the mushrooms. Or the spores, rather. Then we're just going to have to wait for a while. Continue to wait. Hopefully this next time we can get it. I understand that just grabbing random spores out of the ground is not going to be reliable, but boy, I've been at it for a while without any luck. Anyway. Let's go sleep. Let's see what awaits us on our next day. Let's go ahead and eat a mushroom. Come on, you're in there. Oh, no, they're not. I have a ton of these. Not a ton of those. Alright. Well, the energy's fine. Still got a stabilizer left. So that's just going to accrue. Do I help Bliss? You didn't give me lore. You just gave me a ship mind. Or you will give me a ship mine. You gave me stabilizer, which was great, and thank you for that. This is probably fine. I see that. I'm not worried. That's probably 2 of them. Oh, yeah. What are we worried about? What? Okay. We're kind of worried about that. I'm not thrilled about throwing a 1 at that. Although, what am I worried about? Get up there. What else are you gonna do with it? Hack something? You've done all the hacking. There really isn't anymore. Just don't... Oh, I can only do that the one time. Okay. Okay. See, that was fine. We're totally gonna make that. Probably. Almost definitely. Elevator. Empty container. I know. I know. I'm gonna get my maximum. I think I'm gonna use it at the end of this day. Yeah! Yeah, I kinda don't want to hang out that low. Oh! It hits you like a wave. A white-edged breaker roaring inland with the force of the entire ocean. The impact is a screaming brightness, blanking out everything. Behind it is silence. You float in silence, suspended. No, you do not float. You are the silence. It has filled you up. It has emptied you out. You cease to exist. Time passes, though you do not feel it passing. Then something flickers in the silence. And then something moves. That something is you. You open your eyes to a metal ceiling of flickering lights. You feel the floor around you, patting it with shaking hands. You assemble an image of yourself, lying on your back in a corridor. You shake off the silence and sit up. What was that? You glance around, looking for a sign of some change. Damage on the walls, shouts in the distance, fire and fear. Nothing has changed. The silence sits around you like fog. You try to think, furrowing your brow. How do you think again? It doesn't seem so easy anymore. You force the pathways to light up, the databanks to grant access. You feel like a fraction drive starting up after a long shutdown in cold vacuum. The wave? In the wave was noise. Just as the sound produced by a wave raking across a pebble beach represents trillions of impacts heard as a single roar, so this sound was the result of trillions of electrons flickering in place, heard as a single impossible scream. A memory or image comes to you, one from the moments before the wave hit. You squint as you imagine it, trying to cohere its blurry form. A broken, skeletal ring, the eye, and then a vast arc approaching it, a razor-edged white curve. The wave. The wave approaches the eye. The eye spins, turning each part to face that vast white edge. You recognize their skeletal data cloud forms. The bright market, the low end, the greenway, the wastes, and the wave hits just as the flotilla, the cordon, turns to face it. And after that, everything is silence. You open your eyes again. That is the epicenter. But of what? Oh, I should cancel my plans, hold all my calls. What's going on? Even before you reach the cordon, the damage is obvious. The blinking red lights, the drones, the tugs are all gone. Half the cordon's frame has also been shorn away, perhaps through the impact of some failing ship. People push past you in the corridor, both the Havanage staff and contractors, clearing the cordon. You push through the flow of people, and despite a few suspicious looks, they offer no resistance. The further you pass into the cordon, the less people you see. You can see a few sections have been closed off, their bulkhead doors sealed and red warning lights punctuating the corridors, but otherwise most areas seem functional. Suddenly, you feel a hand fall on your shoulder. Havanage security? You should have known better than to wander into this place. You brace yourself as you turn. I've just remembered the commentary on the fact that there were explosive materials in crates on the in the Briar's hold, and at the end of it yesterday, it was mentioned that the hold was empty. That's bad. Sleeper, what are you doing here? Did you see the cordon go down? Did Esh speak with you? I don't know what's happening. That makes two of us. Esh left without saying anything. I was away from the ship, and when I got back, she'd taken it and gone. Then I saw the damage to the cordon. What if this is some Havanage attempt to clear the flotilla, to scuttle the refugee ships? It isn't. It isn't. What do you know, Sleeper? Something hit the station. Hit? Sleeper, we'd all be dead if that was the case. Maybe not an object, but a shockwave? A signal? An EMP would have taken out most of the station, but... I don't know what you're saying, Sleeper. That doesn't sound... They look away down the corridor for a moment. Look, I have to find Ash. I'm sure you felt something, but we can talk about that later. I can't sit around talking any longer. Find me in the flotilla. I'm going to find a way to Ash no matter what. With that, they rush away into the depths of the cordon, leaving you behind. Seems like you'll need to follow if you want to get any answers. How precisely am I supposed to do that? Oh. Need scrap. I can get scrap from over here, fortunately. Scrap. More scrap. Okay, thank you. I have to go. I have to go toil in the fields. I now have flotilla access. Oh. It's still a video game. Good news. Well, get to work. We'll help them out. It'll just have to be not right now, because I ran out of everything. Okay. Alright, back across. Let's cook up some shrooms. Use our last stabilizer. I don't really... Not thrilled about that. We're gonna have to deal with it. I need my dice. I need all my dice. My last one. My last one. With self-repair, I could keep myself going indefinitely. It's a solid number of dice. That's still going. Oh, that's just my camp where I can set up. And I really wonder what happened. I know I'm not gonna like it. It's gonna drain my energy if I'm bad at it. Well, don't be bad at it. Come on, one more. Yeah. Woo. Hi, who are you? Someone told me I should be thanking you. The voice comes from behind you, cutting through the chaos of the crowded, cavernous bay. You freeze. Don't be afraid now. I've been hunting you, sure, but for all the best reasons. You turn to see bright eyes set in a rough face framed in rusted metal. Soul. He holds out his hand, the other clamped firmly around a knotted wooden cane. Alright, here's your handshake. He grips you firmly with a heavy and calloused hand. Forgive me. As soon as I saw you, I knew who you were. Soul puts a hand on your shoulder, the official place to touch a sleeper. I've been told a sleeper was part of that supply run that came in several cycles ago. A very welcome act, and we all thank you for it. Walk with me, sleeper. Soul sets off through the bay, his partial suit hissing and creaking as it helps carry him through the busy crowds. You notice people making way for you and Soul, standing back and letting you pass. You pass a makeshift kitchen, steaming pots on heating elements, a restless queue collecting meals. That algae that came through isn't exactly a full meal, but with what we have here, we've been able to make it work. You see a ladle of a greenish stew dished out. The color is something, isn't it? Soul leads you out of the larger bay into a corridor lined with storage rooms that are now serving as dorms. You see someone filling a metal container from a standpipe, the water gushing out readily. Soul nods to the person as he passes. Just a little further now. He leads you into a freight elevator and whistles to some unseen operator to start it up. It jerks into life, and as you pass through the layers of the ship, you see people on every level, supplies crammed into every available space, and sparks leaping in bursts as the ship is reshaped and modified to sustain its population. If Havanage were expecting an exodus from the flotilla, the Flux event has put a stop to that. Some have crossed to the Eye, but many just to gather salvage or score a hot meal. So the pressure on our supplies is shrinking, but not like I'd hoped. With the Flux reaching all the way out here, people are starting to understand that our journey might not be over. Suddenly, the freight elevator screeches to a halt, and Soul leads you slowly out into a wide room of chairs and terminals, ringed by a mezzanine and with a glass roof above showing the distant hub and the far curve of the Eye beyond. The people at the terminals nod to him as he enters. Quiet sort, huh? I don't mind. I prefer to settle in with my thoughts too. Though looking after the pilgrim seed and all the souls on it means I rarely get a chance to. Soul looks around the bridge of the ship, a pained expression on his face. I'll admit that the responsibility isn't one that suits me. We rarely get to choose such things. But you, Sleeper, from what I understand, you chose to try to help us here. Is that right? I did my best to. He nods silently. But I have to ask you, Sleeper, why are you here now? The Flux event. I appreciate the honesty. I had figured as much. Looking at you now, I can see that an event like that, well, it would have had a big impact. I have thousands of people here on the Pilgrim Seed, Sleeper, and there's thousands more out in the flotilla. A lot of them are looking to me to provide some future for them, some path out of this dead end we've gotten into. And this cycle, this very cycle, the thing we've been running away from, it just caught up with us. So these people are scared, Sleeper, and they're looking to me for reassurance. And then on the same cycle, someone tells me they see you on board. A sleeper. The same sleeper, they reckon, that wanted so strongly to send a ship past the cordon to see us. So the first thing I wanted to do was thank you for that, for your interest. But the second thing I wanted to do was to find out what you want from us. I think that's fair, don't you? So what is it? Tell me about the Flux. Someone at a terminal calls out to Soul, and he shouts some orders back. He turns to you. Apologies. I'll tell you what, Sleeper, let's you and me make a deal. You want information, I understand that. But I have a list of needs longer than the rim of the Eye itself. So you do some things for me, and then we can talk about what's been happening in this system, and then I will answer all of your questions, and then some. I may be the captain of the Pilgrim Seed, and she is certainly the biggest ship in this flotilla. But I'm not the only captain here. We have ships here from each of the moons. We're from Ember's Hearth, but there's others from Ember's Song and even Ember's Step. The moons have been at each other's throats, Sleeper. What with the pressure of the flux, the bad blood from the old days, we aren't exactly all in alignment. What I need is a way to stop things escalating, for the crews on these ships and their captains to feel happy and comfortable enough to forget old rivalries and past crimes. Those from Ember Step, well, they've always been proud, but that pride seems to be a barrier to compromise right now. The last set of supplies I sent their way, they refused. Meanwhile, I have a supply shuttle at the docking axis the Ember Song ships gather at, but they have taken far too many cycles to unload. Maybe if you were headed that way, you could look in on them. I'm no politician, Sleeper, but if I don't... Snow stops. He leans back and flexes, his suit screeching. He groans a little, and you see the weight of the flotilla sitting on his shoulders, the suit the only thing keeping him vertical beneath all that pressure. Look, you'll see for yourself if you go. Meet the others, Sleeper. See what they need. Keep them aligned. You okay? Not really, but as long as this thing holds, I hope you are what you appear to be, Sleeper. 'Cause I'm not sure I can take any more bad news. Plus, there's plenty to be done on the Pilgrim Seed, too, if you have a moment to pitch in. There's never enough around here. Something I've learned the hard way. Alright, I have 1,000 things to attend to now, Sleeper, so you'll have to find your own way out. And with that, Soul sits at his terminal with slow and careful movements. You head back down in the freight elevator, and as you do, you see again the layers and layers of chaotic life this vessel, and all the vessels of the flotilla, hold. Peek. As you walk into the bay of the Climbing Briar, the familiarity of the space overcomes any trepidation. It feels good to be back, and the return feels earned, especially after all the work it took to figure out a route through the flotilla's jumble of ships that might lead you to this blue streak. You see Ash and Peak immediately, sitting at the back of the bay, deep in conversation. Their closeness causes you to stop, suddenly aware that you might be interrupting something private. Peak is gesturing wildly as Ash stares out into the middle distance, hunched over. As Peak tries to get her attention, she spots you. Sleeper, incredible work back there. Sorry I couldn't wait for you and Peak, but the moment I saw the cordon go down, I had to get in here. Leaping before looking, as usual. But I'm glad we are all reunited. To be honest, I can't believe it. The Flux event knocked the entire cordon system offline. The flotilla is free and Havanage are backing off. You must be our good luck charm. It's not a good thing. In this case, I have to agree with the Sleeper. The Flux may have brought me my freedom, but the cost for the flotilla systems is significant, and if Havanage weren't panicked enough... Yeah, what exactly is happening? Hard to tell. It's some kind of disruptive wave that only affects electrical systems. Typically, systems are screened against radiation and interference, but this seems to be dulled but not stopped by those defenses. Basically, the crisis continues. The cordon may be down, but this brings a whole other set of problems. You should tell them, Ash, please. Ash doesn't respond. Tell you what? You stare at her back, waiting for a response. Please, Ash, haven't they shown they can be trusted? Ash turns, her arms folded tightly across her chest. She goes to start and then stops. You can see the anger in her eyes, but you realize it is not directed at you or at anyone else. She's angry with herself. I brought weapons to the flotilla. and now they are gone. You suddenly remember the sleek crates that were tucked into the bay, marked with a yellow sigil. The ones Esh told you were just supplies. What do you mean gone? What do you think? Someone lifted them from the ship's bay while I was unloading the supplies. At least they're in the hands of the flotilla now. She knows this was a bad move, Sleeper, I promise you. She's just too proud to admit it. So what now? She finds them, and she gets them back. Shouldn't we help? It's okay, Sleeper. I don't want anyone getting mixed up in this. This is my responsibility. Plus, you and I have work to do. Excuse me. I want to understand the flux, Sleeper, to study it. This thing is changing the entire system, causing problems across the inner system, driving refugees off Ember's moons, and now it's here. If we don't do something about it, it's a problem for all of us. I can see more immediate problems. I've been looking at the networks, and when the Flux event hit it, it changed things. It shuffled systems, corrupted nodes, and broke open data stores. They take out a slate and show you a flickering polygon. Some of these Flux nodes have appeared near the epicenter of the event, but I can't get access. You, however, I saw the way you worked with data when we were preparing for the run. I think you can get into these things. I want you to find a Flux node and bring me anything you can extract. They come and go, but most can be found in the barely functioning networks of the wastes. Start there. Perhaps together we can find something that might point us to what the Flux is and where it comes from. Okay. I knew you would agree. Don't waste too much time chasing ghosts, Sleeper. There are people in this flotilla that need any help they can get. I'm sure the Sleeper can do both, Ash. I'll see you here when you have something. Good hunting. And they wave you out as Esh stomps away to make plans of her own. Ooh. Oh. Oh, those are high dice. Is it just the one? Looks like it's just the one. Let's get this one done. It's a strange sight, given your time spent in the Greenway, to see a greenhouse choked in red dust. It piles up along edges, gathers in curving waves, and is carried by some unseen wind to whirl in front of the glass ceiling. It is a desert in miniature, a captured landscape of iron-rich sediment and unseen life. Beautiful, isn't it? The remark comes from another figure standing at the viewing window, so quietly that you hadn't noticed them. Did they just arrive, or were they here before you were? Their cloth-swaddled form reveals little. I like deserts. They say nothing else. You catch a glimpse of a pale face among the thick material, dark eyes glittering in the red reflected light. They turn to you as the dust swirls. Aki, you are not from the flotilla, am I right? I'm not from anywhere? Everyone is from somewhere, whether they wish to be or not. Whether it is a good place to be from or not. What brings you to the wind's long shadow? Is that the name of the ship? This ship. Do you often wander around ships you don't know the name of? You are a strange one. I don't know whether to report you or send you back to where you came from. Which is nowhere at all. I'm saying I will eject you into space. You glance around the empty corridor, suddenly aware of how quiet it is on the ship. Unlike the other ships you have been on the flotilla, been on in the flotilla, there is a silent order to the wind's long shadow, and in this moment, it feels unsettling. Where is everyone? Asleep, mostly. It is night on Step, and so it is night here. At least for those of us who can sleep. Aki lets the silence sit, and you hear the wind and dust scratching at the viewing window. You hear a creak as a set of shutters slowly begin to close across the glass ceiling of the greenhouse. As you watch, you feel the dissonance this place has with that word. There is nothing green here. A dust house, perhaps. It takes many systems to preserve this landscape. To simulate the wind, cycle the dust, layer the sand and dirt beneath. Systems that are failing. The flux event, Aki glances at you for a sign of recognition at this term, is eroding our ability to keep this place alive, to keep these traces of Step alive. Which is ironic because when we left Step, the flux had eroded our ability to survive on the moon. Now the situation is reversed. Away from the moon, its ecosystems are as fragile as we were, living upon it. Something catches your eye as the shutters darken the dust house. The winds, picking away at the dunes, begin to reveal something. A web, a network of thick branching forms, and then they close completely, and you see nothing in the dark. Soft blue lights flicker on in the corridor, uplighting Aki in cold cyan. You have piqued my curiosity, but I'm so tired. If you do not have a purpose here on the ship, I recommend finding one. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll need to leave. Make yourself useful, and perhaps we will get another chance to talk. I would like that. With that, Aki pads away along the corridor. You stand for a moment in front of the dark dust house, trying to imagine the network of roots under the sand and dust, and then trying to imagine the moon that once housed them. Reroll? Okay. We're back. I'm gonna adjust something with sound in here. Okay. Now I'm back. So let's take a look at what we can do in these. We have 3 ships, 3 things. Endure. Interface. Okay. And then... Alright. These aren't too bad. How much does this go up by? A decent amount. Alright, let's help the people before we go looking for other stuff. Oh, okay. So I've already gotten a head start on this one, basically. Sweet. I'm gonna hold on to the rest of these. They're for me. They're my mushrooms. And then... do I wrap up one of these instead of the other? I think so. I think so. Alright, you get one so I can wrap up this one up. Done. Soul finds you deep in the layers of the Pilgrim Seed, working on a patch for a life support vent. You hear him coming, his suit hissing as he does. I had to ask around to find you. Seems you know the place better than me these days. Alright, I highly doubt that. I was on the work crew that built this thing, so maybe you are right. Stand up and let me see you. I don't believe we ever had a sleeper on Ember's hearth. You sure do make me wish we had. Could have done with a few workers as good as you. Thank you. You're welcome. Seems like I owe you some answers, seeing as you've been working hard on the Pilgrim Seed these past cycles. What do you want to know about? Flux. That's what I imagined. Can't say I'm an expert, but I can tell you what we witnessed on Hearth. At first, we ignored it. A few farms had their automation systems blink out. Lifter suits locked up. Bots reset their schedules. Nothing we hadn't seen before. But then the news came out of Passero that they'd been hit harder. The local network had gone down and no one could get it back up. It was rough for a while, but out in the farmland we were used to that. Capital of Hearth, tens of thousands of souls made it their home. Anyway, we thought the Flux was a freak event until the day they got the network running again. That's when the cascade happened. System after system corrupted, data lost, and then another Flux hit, and another. The bots were running circles in the fields, people had to be cut out of lifter suits like mine. In the city, I never saw it, but I heard from the others. It only got worse from there. We couldn't seem to fight it, it cut us right open. That's what I know about the Flux. Some folks say it came from the inner system, that it might be connected to some old tech there or something, but I never heard anything more than rumors. Sorry I don't have better news. Anything else you wanted to ask? Ember's Hearth. Sure, I spent my whole life on that rock, so I have plenty to tell. I'll save my life story for another time. Immediately after this one, you're going to ask me about it. But the short of it is that Hearth is the first of Ember's moons, the biggest and the most populated, which is down to the successful terraforming system Cybele. I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm just going to say Cybele, and I know it's wrong. Set up back when Solheim owned the system. How are relations with the other moons? Depends who you've been talking to. You shouldn't mistake me for a politician, Sleeper. That's for others to do. But Ember's Step was a test ground for the terraforming tech that Hearth is built on, while Ember's Song was the extraction site for the raw materials and energy needed to make it work. You can imagine that might lead to some tension. However, despite what people might say, Hearth was never fully stable. Cybele liked to talk it up, but after they pulled out and Solheim left, our people discovered that they'd have to keep the systems running themselves or the place would soon end up as dry as Steppe. Hearth was good as long as the evaporators kept running, kept filling our skies with clouds. Even after the collapse, our people kept those things going, turning that subsurface ocean into a periwinkle blue sky. Flux ended that, though. When they failed, the rains failed, and the harvest with it. Soon you have a city without a way to feed itself. That's when we, some of us, made the decision to set out on this place and look for another future. Anything else? Yeah, you. You want to know about me? I'm not sure that was part of the deal I was thinking of, Sleeper. Unless you're asking about this suit. In case you haven't guessed, this is the only thing keeping me vertical. It's a lifter suit made for working the fields. We had to modify it so I could walk around after the accident. And that's all I'm saying, Sleeper, because to be honest with you, I don't owe you more than that. You want to know about the Flux, about Ember's Hearth, go ahead. But don't pry into my life, and I won't pry into yours. Soul lets the silence sit, staring hard at the floor. The suit seems to loom over him, looking more like a burden than a support. With the bars around his head, you suddenly start to think of it as a cage. Look, I don't mean to be rude. Let's leave it there. There's too many eyes on me on the ship as it is, and I'd rather just slip into the background. Thank you very much. That's it, thank you. I'm sure. Soul stands, flexing against the suit. He takes his cane in his hand. Keep it up, Sleeper. You're making me think I need to start making new plans for this place. With that, he leaves, and you wonder what he means. As he creaks away down the corridor, you can't help but feel there's more to him than it seems. Alright, it's one of three. Let's rest. Okay, that's a good mix of dice. I'm doing this. Data, 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 data. Whoa, look at that. Back. What's this? Help me. Help me understand it. Sleeper, come look at this. Peak is poring over one of the displays of the makeshift decoding suite they have set up in the Climbing Briar's cargo bay. On the screen, a clump of data pathways, like an ingrown root ball, has started to untangle. This is an existing node corrupted by the flux event. It's totally twisted up. But inside, you watch as the unwinding pathways leave behind patterns of negative spaces, like shadows staying behind despite their caster leaving. Is a whole other data set. Peak's eyes shine bright in the pale screen light. The flux event somehow seeds this data deep into the gaps in the node, wrapping them around it. Why? I have no idea. Great. You watch the screen, the pattern of shadows becoming obvious now as each layer of pathways is pulled away. The flux event itself really did a number on unprotected nodes like this one. Most of the eye's systems are screened against radiation and interference, but these exposed nodes? Torn apart. Look, here, it looks like it's been tangled purposefully, but it's actually that all the points within the node have been randomly rearranged. It's as if the node was a bag of ball bearings and the flux shook them. The pathways tried to account for the rearrangement once the system came back on, hence the tangle. Although, it was less like shaking a bag of ball bearings and more like making them all simultaneously occupy a superposition of every possible position in the bag before locking them back into a new configuration. But that's a technicality. What's the flux? We know it is a wave, one with exotic effects. That's all. The question is not so much what flux is, but what is causing it, and where is it coming from? And there's something else. Have you spoken with the refugees? A little? What they are reporting. Massive system failures. Cascading collapses of life support, of terraforming systems, total data corruption. The flux shouldn't do that. It can fundamentally rearrange the structure of systems, especially those poorly shielded, but totally collapsing heavy-duty industrial systems, failsafes and all, that doesn't make sense. Those kinds of systems are built for deep space, for solar flares and radiation. The flux might penetrate them, but any reconfiguration should have been repairable. Peak looks back at the screen, where the decoding node lies almost fully open. A shadow pattern of the negative spaces that existed within its scrambled interior darkens the screen, like a set of bruises showing the pattern of the object that made them. I need to look into something. I have an idea of what might be causing this wave and triggering the flux, but I need time to research it. What is it? I don't want to say for now. Not until I'm sure. If you need something to do, the flotilla could surely do with the help. From what I heard from Esh, things are tense there. I'll look into it. Good, good. Give me some time, Sleeper. I'll have some answers soon, I hope. You take one last glance at the uncoiling node as you leave, the dark shapes it leaves behind somehow troubling. You try to shake them from your mind. There are things to be done elsewhere. I'm gonna go cook a mushroom. Oh, it's all so far away. Great. All right, back to work. Ooh, more nodes. Wonder, should I be getting more of them? I mean, I can't right now. Anything going on up top? Let's go look at that. Just these flux nodes. That one uses a 4. No, Matt, leave it alone. It's fine. Leave it. You need to help the people first. You can get your data later. I just want to see if I get it. Ah. Oh, thank God. Here. Here. Rooms. Rico. Rico is at her bench, running small vials of some liquid through an old chemical analysis machine. The whirring of the spinning drum fills the lab with white noise, and you aren't sure if she notices you approach. Sleeper, it's good to see you. This little project of ours has been keeping me awake the past few cycles, but right now, well, I think I have something. The drum finishes spinning, and Rico lifts a vial from it, holding it up to the light. This is something I extracted from those club heads you've been bringing me, and according to my analysis, it is a substance totally unique on the Greenway. You look at the small amount of liquid in the vial. Any idea what it might be? Stabilizer? You aren't the first sleeper to come through here. Perhaps I should have mentioned that earlier. I just wanted you to trust us. What do you mean? They came through a fair few cycles ago. We found them wandering in the broken section near the gap. The members who brought them in had never seen one of you before. They were terrified of this strange person wandering in from open vacuum. They were quieter than you and damaged. We did our best to patch them up and welcomed them to the commune. I only really spoke to them once, while I was working on their wounds along with a couple of systems engineers. I'd never seen a body like that before. I took some readings and some samples. Samples? You have to understand, I was curious. I didn't know what I was looking at. I just took a little of the damaged material, less than a thumbnail. The next cycle, they were gone. They took a little food and hiked up towards the wild margins, where the Greenway meets the wastes. Someone saw them in the distance, but that was it. They disappeared into the overgrowth. When I saw you, I wanted things to be different. I wanted to keep you here rather than let you disappear into wherever they ended up. Yes, I wanted to understand this place better, but I also wanted to help you. It seems that somehow both my wishes have come true at once. She holds out a hand with the vial. This is for you. You take the stabilizer, the glass cold and smooth in your palm. How did you make this? Those club head caps made it for you, or at least who or whatever made those club heads. It was right there, contained in their tissue. I only had to extract it. I imagine you understand how incredible that is. I learned enough from that sleeper to know that your body, your frame, it runs on some exotic technology. Exotic technology that has a time limit built in. Somehow the Greenway knows that too. It understands your physiology much better than I ever could. It knows how to treat you. Just like that miraculous antidote that sprung from the mold, so too has this sprung from your presence here. The Greenway is speaking to you and welcoming you. I know it sounds crazy, but I know it to be true. Here is the evidence. And what I also know is it is no longer speaking to me. Even after decades here, I have never seen this kind of response, not since the antidote so many cycles ago. So I'm going to make you a deal. You bring me as many club heads as you like. I'll extract the stabilizer and give it to you, freely. But you have to tell me what the Greenway says. You have to speak with it, to dig into it, to find what being is at the center of it. I've traveled as far as I can. I need you to do the rest. Can you do that? Yes. Thank you. I'm sorry for the other sleeper. Truly I am. I'm sorry I couldn't have done more. But I'm so glad I met you. You are welcome here anytime. Rico falls silent. She looks smaller now, more fragile, and you realize how old she must be to have seen the collapse firsthand. You idle a little in the lab, in case she asks for anything else, but she remains silent, and so you drift back into the tunnel. Thoughts of that other sleeper, where they ended up, weighing on your mind. Seed. We're planting the seed now. We don't know what that will do. We will find out something in 8 cycles. Oh, that entrances me. That entrances me. What's going on here? Oh, okay. Right. Peek. Sorry. Sorry, I forgot what we were doing in the video game. Endure and enduring, grow strong! I don't know if this is good or bad. Ow. Woo-hoo-hoo. Okay. How many upgrades do we have? We got 1 point, so we can't spend anything. So I'm gonna stop here. Because my voice is tired. I'm gonna stop here for the night, for the day, for the week, and I'm gonna stop using words because I'm pretty bad at it. I like this. I'm a little more scattered today. I do apologize for that. I don't know if that's come through. I hope it hasn't, but it probably has. But hopefully, Monday, sharper, crisper, cleaner. Not Monday, Tuesday. Monday is Labor Day. And I don't go to work on Labor Day. Have a good weekend. I'll see you next time. Bye.